Hey guys, Bradley here from Armour Detail Supply, and today we have a really fun video for you. So, crazy idea brewed up in this brain. I've been seeing a lot of people going through on Facebook forums and different types of detailing forums and asking AI, ChatGPT specifically, for questions about products, formulation style questions. Instead of just going to the company, they're leaning on AI and ChatGPT to give them right answers about a product that ChatGPT has probably no idea about. But we're gonna test that theory in this video, especially with the prevalence of, on YouTube, people doing like AI controls my vacation and AI controls the day in my life. I thought it would be really fun to put ChatGPT to the test, and let's see if ChatGPT can formulate us a good car shampoo, which is a pretty, what most people would consider a basic formula, but there's a lot of different ingredients that go into car shampoos. Generally, there's 6-7 different types of surfactants, water, you have preservatives. So let's see if ChatGPT can get somewhere close, get us a good car shampoo that can foam, get it to be slick, and let's see if it's super safe as well. So let's head over to our mixing equipment. I've got my computer set up, and we are gonna give ChatGPT a prompt and see if it can give us something that works good. So let's start by giving ChatGPT a nice long prompt to be able to give us the best ability to make a good car shampoo. So I'm gonna give it a long prompt, and I'm gonna use some technical words to hopefully influence ChatGPT to kind of go in the way that I want it to hopefully get us a formula that's actually really good. So let's start by giving it full story, full background, full story, and then we'll go into kind of typing up the actual prompt to formulate the soap. So I'm gonna start by saying we are Armour Detail Supply. We are making a YouTube video where we ask you, ChatGPT, to formulate us a car shampoo, and then we blend it and use it in the video to test it out. The title of the video will be something along the lines of, we ask ChatGPT to formulate us a detailing product and we use it. Now, so formulate me a car shampoo formulation that is, keyword here, super, super high end. Super high end, extremely concentrated, safe to use, pH neutral, safe to use and pH neutral. Now we're going to get into the nitty gritty here. We're going to say, I want to be able to use this soap at 1 ounce into a full bucket, 4 to 5 gallons of water, and 1 ounce into a foam cannon that holds 32 ounces of water. With this shampoo, I want extremely thick foam, dry foam that sticks to the surface. All right, we're gonna tell it some little nitty gritty here. Utilize both anionic and non-ionic surfactant blends for a well-rounded, safe formulation. This needs to be pH neutral, 7 to 7.5. We need to include a preservative because with all pH neutral products, you need a preservative, and I don't want to check to see if ChatGPT is going to remember that, so I'm going to tell it that we need a preservative and see if it gives us a preservative that actually works. So we need to include a preservative. I want the foam that is generated by the soap to be extremely stable so it stays foamy on the car for a long dwell time, but also cannibalize quickly when rinsed for a easy rinse off experience. From there, I'm going to say add in some sort of wetting agent to add lubrication and slickness to the wash media as we wash the car. So we're getting to the end of what I'm going to tell ChatGPT. For my sake, I like a thin soap. I don't want a thick, gloopy honey soap. So I'm going to tell it, formulate this as a water-like thin consistency soap formulation. That's going to really change the way the ingredients that it gives me. Make sure that it is a stable formula that won't separate. And I believe that's everything we're going to tell ChatGPT. It should have plenty of information to be able to formulate us something. So now I'm going to ask it to give us a blending ingredient list, as well as the amounts and also the blending schedule. So the order of operations for the ingredients to go in and how they need to be mixed, whether they need to be heated, or whether it can be done all cooled. We're gonna find that out. So I'm gonna say include a full ingredient list breakdown, and we're gonna formulate a 1,000 milliliter batch for a 1,000 ml batch. Include a full blending schedule and order of operations for the individual ingredients. All right, there we go. Let's click the button. Alrighty, let's let ChatGPT cook, see what it can give us. All right, it's listing out all the different points that we kind of asked for, and then goes down to the formulation, high-end car shampoo for a 1,000 ml batch. It's pretty concentrated, 54% water. And then gives us the full breakdown of the ingredients, the type of activity that we need to get for the ingredients. So you've got your water, your SLES, your sodium lauryl sulfate, cocamidopropyl butane, decoglucoside, lauryl glucoside, acocamide MIPA, glycerin, some citric acid to adjust the pH down to neutral, sodium benzenate for a preservative, interesting. And then going into your fragrance, dyes, and you can add, we actually have EDTA, got a chelator in there, awesome. So there we go, we've got all of that going. Gives us some key design highlights of the formulation, gives us the full blending schedule, goes through when each individual ingredient needs to be mixed and how. Looks like there's no heating that needs to be done in this mixture, which will be really nice. So we are going to go through this and get all of the ingredients. I believe I have 90% of this. A couple things I don't have, so we'll just source those, and we'll come back in about a week or two once we have all the ingredients ready, and we're gonna make this ChatGPT soap.
1 week later.
So we are back after about a week and a half, and we have finally sourced the extra few raw materials that we needed to make this ChatGPT formulated car shampoo. So we did have to make a couple minor tweaks to the formulation, mostly due to just the raw materials we already had on hand being different concentrations than what ChatGPT wanted, as well as I did remove one ingredient. So the main changes were we had raw materials already on hand that ChatGPT wanted to use, but we have them at different concentration levels. So for those that don't know, a lot of these ingredients you can buy in like a 20% concentrate, a 50% concentrate, 70% concentrate, 99% concentrate, powders, all this sort of stuff. And ChatGPT on some of the ingredients was asking for like a 28% variety, and we already have here a 70% variety. So I didn't want to have to try to source the 28% when we already have it. So it was easier for me to basically just rebalance the formulation, use some more water to make up for the fact that we're using a more concentrated raw material, and we basically just rebalanced it to make sure that we're targeting all of the same activity level for those raws, but just playing around with the levels because we're adding more water and using more concentrated ingredients. I also did remove the Polyquat 7 because I didn't really want to try to source that material, and it's not really needed for the soap. What that would do is basically like leave a film behind for like gloss and slickness, and it's basically just an additive. And with this soap, I just wanted it to be a bare kind of neutral car shampoo, no additives, no nothing left behind, just a clean slate. So I removed that and just made it easier to formulate and mix up, and so we should be good to go and have a more clean shampoo. So we are going to grab these raw materials and we're going to get to mixing. So first step of the process, we've got our mixer set up. We've got all of our ingredients here ready to go. I am wearing gloves because I'm working with raw chemicals here, and I've got my my lab science glasses on to protect my eyes from any splash that may occur. So first step of the process, obviously following ChatGPT's recommendations throughout this mix. I'm not going to be following any sort of knowledge that I have. I'm going to be following exactly what ChatGPT says, the order of operations for each ingredient, how long they need to be mixed, and things like that. So first step of the process is adding in the water. For our 500 milliliter sample batch that we're going to make for this, we are targeting a 500 gram amount of water. And typically for me, I would not use the full amount of water that we need right away. I would probably cut it short and then add some more as we get going down the process. But ChatGPT says add 500 grams of water right away, so we're going to go ahead and add that in now. So we're going to go ahead and get that on the scale. We're going to tear that out, and then I've just got some distilled water here that we use to mix up. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw in 500 grams of water. And in the beginning of the video, I did say like, wow, this is a like a concentrated car shampoo, for a ChatGPT formulation. After doing some digging and realizing the raw materials that it was using, it's actually not a very concentrated car shampoo. So we've got our 500 mils of water in there, and like I was saying, I originally thought this was a really concentrated car shampoo. In reality, there's like 15% surfactant activity in here, which is really, really low. So this will be a very kind of bare box, kind of shampoo. It is definitely going to be nothing crazy. We're going to have to use a lot of this in the foam cannon to get, the kind of foam that we want. So I've got my 500 grams of water in there, and I'm just going to go ahead and get my mixer set up in here and set it up how I like to mix. I generally offset and angle my mixer so that I get a more 3D effect rather than just making a vortex and throwing a bunch of air into the mix. So we should be good there. I'm gonna get that going, get that mixing in. I've got it at a very slow RPM to start off with. So the first raw material, other than the water, which is gonna be our solvent that we're using to mix everything into, is what ChatGPT is saying is our disodium EDTA, which is our chelating ingredient. So we're going to go ahead and add this now. This formulation, adjusted for all the other things, is calling for 1.5 grams of this this powder. And what this is basically making a chelator is basically giving you some resistance to hard water. So especially when you mix it and maybe in your bucket or through your foam cannon, and you might have hard water, making sure it still functions and foams and doesn't get killed by that. Perfect, 1.58 grams, close enough for me. And also making it so that when you use the soap, if you are using it with hard water, that it is going to not, cause water spots or anything if you're, when you're using the soap. So we can go ahead and get that mixed into the solution here, 1.5 grams. And I'm just using a little cap that I like to use for these small amounts of powders. It's just easy to mix it into. So we're gonna let that kind of mix up a little bit. That will kind of dissolve and become homogeneous very, very quickly. It's a very light powder. And then the next ingredient is our glycerin. So we're using glycerin 99, which is again more concentrated than what ChatGPT wanted us to use. But glycerin is basically going to give the formulation a little bit of body, give you kind of some of that thickness to the soap so that it feels and acts like a soap, as well as, at a higher concentration, it could give you a little bit of slickness and things like that, under the wash media and make it a little bit more slippery of a soap. But this is a very low concentration. We're using 5 grams, which is about 1%. So we'll go ahead and add that in now. And I'm basically just taking that. I put too much, but we should be okay. I'm 7 grams in, so, but again, it should be totally fine for this. Basically, I'm tearing out the weight of the whole thing, pouring some in, and coming back and basically just taking the negative. Next ingredient is our sodium benzoate, which is a preservative because this is a pH neutral formulation. You want to protect it from any, basically any, growth, bacterial growth, that sort of thing, making sure that you have a long shelf life. The interesting thing about ChatGPT is it formulated it with sodium benzoate, which is typically not the preservative that I would have picked for a pH neutral shampoo. There are definitely better options out there. How much does this need? This needs 2.5 grams, so about a half a percent of the final formulation. Typically, sodium benzoate works best at a lower pH. So typically, typically in like your 4 to 6 range at a pH neutral, it's still going to function. It's still going to do, an okay job, but it's not going to be full effectiveness. So it's interesting that ChatGPT picked this and kind of questions. For me, it questions the ability of ChatGPT to do a correct formulation, to be honest, because this is a little, it'll work, but it's definitely not the best option. So there we go. We're 1.53. I'm a little bit over, but we will be okay. So we're going to go ahead and get that mixed in. And again, this is a powder kind of pellet form, but that will mix through very easily. You can kind of see that mixing in there, and you can kind of see that 3D effect that's going on around the mixer, which is exactly what we want, and that's going to dissolve that here in the next couple of minutes. So we'll let that, that is the final part of what ChatGPT calls phase A, which is getting this kind of into a homogeneous solution. So we are going to just kind of let this get nice and homogeneous, get it crystal clear again, and then we will get into the fun part, which is working with our surfactants. So we have phase A in full homogeneous solution. So now it's time to get into our surfactants. This formulation does have 5 different types of surfactants, which is a typically a well-balanced formula to have, at least, anywhere from 3 to 6 surfactants typically in a good formulation. So first up that it's telling me to mix is our SLES. And again, this was the main one that we had to change because we obviously use this product and we already have it in a 70% concentrate, and ChatGPT wanted us to use a 28% concentrate, so we had to kind of reformulate around that. But with this 70% concentrate, it's calling for 50 grams, which is basically a 7% activity level of this typical, or this type of surfactant. So I'm going to tear this out and go ahead and put 50 grams in there. Now this is a thick, gloopy liquid, so this one is going to take a lot longer to mix. This is the hardest one to mix, especially at the 70% variety. So we're going to go ahead and add that now. Let me just make sure we are all clear. Tear that out, and I'm going to go ahead and add my 50 grams. As you can see, it's like a Vaseline, thick, gloopy liquid, so it will take a little bit of time to mix. I'm going to go slow to make sure I don't put too much in there. Again, we need 50 grams.
And SLES is sodium lauryl ether sulfate, which is a very, very common ingredient in car shampoos. You also have SLS, which is kind of like the little, the bigger brother to this, which is a kind of a more aggressive version. But this is our, kind of primary anionic surfactant that's going to give you really good foaming, good cling. It's also going to give you, great cleaning power and kind of break down the oils and the grime. So this is really your workhorse surfactant, and then everything else that we're using kind of builds off of this and kind of helps this become a well-rounded solution. A lot of times when people mix this stuff, they'll mix it in a separate container to a lower concentration and then put it in. I'm just going to mix it like this, but it will take a lot longer to do this way, but it's technically not the proper way to do this, but we will be totally fine. I'm going to keep it running low and slow here to make sure that we don't just whip a bunch of air into the mixture, which could, basically just give us a whole thing of foam. So we are good to go there. Got my 50 grams into the mixture. And again, this is going to take a long time to mix. So typically this is probably going to, even in a big production setting, on a standard mixer like this, you could use a homogenizer, and that would chop these particles up in literally 30 seconds to a minute, and you'd have a really nice homogeneous solution. But with this benchtop mixer, this is definitely going to take some time to mix. So we'll probably come back to you here in the next 15, maybe 20 minutes, and this will be a completely homogeneous, nice, solution with all of these kind of chunkiness in it. So we'll throw a time lapse on for you guys to kind of see that process, but we'll be back here once this is homogeneous. So it's been about 10 minutes or so, and we have the mixture with the SLES finally fully homogeneous. You can see we ran it low and slow, and we didn't whip too much foam into the mixture. There's just a very light layer on top, which will be really good, so that we don't have to let this air out for like freaking 10 hours when we're done, because we pack so much air into the mixture by cranking the RPMs. But the next, I grabbed the wrong ingredient. So the next ingredient that we are adding in is our cocamidopropylbutane. This is a 30% activity level solution, and the formulation is calling for 50 grams of this total solution as well. So we're going to go ahead and tear that out. And what cocamidopropylbutane is, because most people probably have no idea. Cocamidopropylbutane is a zwitterionic amphoteric surfactant. Zwitterionic basically means that it has both positive and negative charge. Basically what this does to a soap is kind of gives that foam some density. Will really make that foam very stable, so that it doesn't just die really, really fast, and really just kind of stabilizes the foam and gives that foam some density, so you get that nice creamy foam. So we're going ahead and add our 50 grams of our cocamidopropylbutane. And again, this is a lot of just back and forth, making sure that you're not overloading or underloading, being as precise as possible. With this, I'm being a little bit more lax because it's not something I'm really trying to make sure is perfect, and test if we're a little bit off on each ingredient, it's not going to kill anything. We're 48, so we got a little bit more. There we go, 49.9. So that's perfect for our cocamidopropylbutane. That should mix it through very, very easily, so I don't think we need to let that go too long by itself. Next ingredient that it wants me to add in is our glucosides. So we have decyl and lauryl glucoside. Basically what these are derivatives of alkyl polyglucoside. So they're sugar-derived surfactants. These are non-ionic, basically sugar-based surfactants. really just giving you a well-rounded formulation, having both anionic, the zwitter ionic, and also the non-ionic surfactants just gives you a really well-rounded formulation, really. Basically what these do, both of these will give you kind of some wetting and some cling time, and again, kind of packs some moisture into the foam so that it sticks and clings and doesn't just fall off on its face. So we'll go ahead and add our decal first, which is our bigger ingredient. That is 25 grams. And this one's a thinner liquid, so it's easier to mix and pour. There we go. There's our 25 grams of our decal glucoside, and then we're going to add our lauryl glucoside, which is 12.5 grams. This is again, kind of like the SLES, but not as thick. This is still runny, but it's very thick surfactant. On this one, we need 12.5 because it's a more concentrated variety as well. So 12.5 grams of this. As we're letting the glucosides kind of mix in, especially since we had the lauryl glucoside, which is a little thicker, I have some time to talk. So we are adding in our next ingredient, which is the cocamide MIPA, which is similar to your cocamidopropylbutane, which is a coconut fatty acid derived surfactant. And again, this is similar to some of the others, you know, just creating a well-rounded solution. This is a foam booster. It really promotes like really densely packed micelles, so that you get a, you know, a very thick, you know, kind of very wet and, you know, thick and creamy foam structure that doesn't just crash fast, and you get something that's really stable. So we can go ahead and add that now. That looks like a pretty good mixture. I'm gonna bump up the speed on the mixer just a little bit. And we're gonna go ahead and add our 7.5 grams of this. So I'm gonna tear that out. Not much of this one is needed. 8 grams. So we're a little over on that one too. But again, we're not gonna hurt anything, as this formulation doesn't need to be 100% perfect, as it's not gonna be a commercially viable solution. So from there, now all of our surfactants have been mixed in. The next steps will be adding in the cool stuff. So like our fragrance, our dye, and things like that. But before that happens, I'm gonna let this sit and mix for at least 5 to 10 minutes to just really become fully homogeneous before we start adding in those fun ingredients. So we've got the whole basically final formulation soap ready to go now. It's just no color, no fragrance, nothing. So we are adding in the fun fancy ingredients now, and ChatGPT says fragrance first. It is recommending a higher loading level of fragrance than I would ever use, and I know this fragrance and it would be way too much fragrance. So I am actually going to use what I know will work, which is typically a 0.5% of the final solution. I'm going to need about 2.5 grams of this fragrance to get that 0.5% of fragrance into the mixture. So basically just going to open this up, and today we picked Starburst candy, so should smell really good for a soap. And typically with fragrances, because it's such small amounts, I usually just like to use a little pipette to pull them out. Oh, I am an idiot. I did not tear. So let's tear, get that even, and we're good to go. Go ahead and pull out some fragrance. Drop that into the mix and make sure we get to 2.5 grams of total fragrance into the final mixture, which is not a lot of fragrance. 2.51, perfect. There is our fragrance oil in there, and you have the surfactants in there to carry that fragrance. And then we are going to add in our color. So I'm not going for any sort of Pantone color here, so I'm just gonna willy-nilly add in some color. We're gonna do a mixture of kind of like a coral color and an orange to kind of give that, like, you know, orangey, pinkish starburst color to go with the fragrance. Now I'm gonna grab my fragrance from down below because I can't transfer that into other bottles. As you can see, all of my other bottles have our labels on there because I don't want you guys to be able to see where we're sourcing these ingredients from. We do have to protect ourselves in that way, but with the dyes, I can't do that. So I'm gonna grab the dyes from down below, but they are a very high-end water-soluble dye that can go into this level of pH, not cause any staining and things like that. So this is our orange. Most of it's just gonna sit on top of the foam. You can kind of see it working in there. Slowly, that'll slowly mix in. So we got a nice, nice orange color there. So there we go. Got kind of a cool reddish, pinky, orange, kind of cool starbursty color. Gonna help this kind of mix in here and get down past that foam, and we'll let that become homogeneous. Really just let that kind of break down, let all those dyes and that fragrance really kind of dissolve into you know, into the surfactants and everything else in the mixture. And this will be final car soap. So I'll probably let this mix just for a couple minutes just to kind of let that kind of settle out. And this will be final car soap. It is smelling really, really good right now. It smells like a straight up Starburst factory. We got that cool color in there. So we're gonna let this mix up. Alrighty, so we are back for day 3 of making this soap, and now we're ready to try it. I transferred most of it into this 500 ml bottle, but I do have a little bit left still here in the mixing beaker. As you can see, ChatGPT did a great job at making it what we asked for, water-like consistency, which is really, really cool. It has a super cool, you know, kind of green, you know, or not green, orangey, you know, pinkish reddish color, which goes cool with that just amazing Starburst scent. I wish you guys could smell this right now because it smells amazing. So what we're gonna do is start testing the soap. So we did already test the pH. pH measured at like 7.1, 7.2, even without any sort of pH adjustment. So formula was kind of bang on there for a pH neutral soap. I've got 1,000 mil, actually about 950 mil of water here in our foam cannon. This is the ADS foam cannon that's going to be releasing here shortly. And I am going to basically kind of go 1 ounce at a time in the foam cannon. We're going to test the foaming and really see if this soap can foam and how much we need to foam. I'm going to take a guess right now and say about 3 to 4 ounces for this to get really good quality foam that I would be happy with based off the formulation, but we'll see what happens. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure out about 30 mil of soap. Got 30 mil there in our mixing container, and I'm gonna dump that in. So we got 30 mil in there, and as you can see, that flows out of the mixing, the measuring beaker super nice because it's that water-like consistency. We'll go ahead and put the top on the foam cannon there, and yeah, let's get to foaming and see how this 1 ounce does. Alrighty, we're max foam. Test. I could already see it's kind of weak, but let's see how she goes. So this is 1 ounce of ChatGPT soap. Flop. I don't think many people would be happy with that. So let's take the foam cannon off. Let's go through. We've only used a little bit of solution. We'll add another ounce in there, and we'll see how 2 ounces of soap rocks in the foam cannon. Boom. 2 ounces in, locked and loaded, mixed up. Let's go to a different part of the car. Let's go to this door here. We're getting somewhere. We're getting a clinging foam on the car now. So it's not just almost like a straight water. So that's a good, nice runny foam. Some people would even, you know, really enjoy that type of foam. Some people love that runny foam that will really pull the dirt down and run off the car. I like a little bit of a thicker foam, so let's jump up to 3 ounces and let's see. I think we're gonna get something pretty good with 3 ounces. So let's throw another ounce in there. Ooh, I got some bubbles. Where are we at? There's another 30 mil. 30 mil in. There we go. We got 3 ounces of GPT shampoo. Nice and mixed up. Makes a really cool color in the foam cannon too. Now, look at that cling time though. You know, cling time with 2 ounces is doing really good. Even though it's a watery foam, it's clung to that surface. I mean, that's been 45 seconds to a minute or so, and it's still full sheet of foam. So that's really, really good to see. So let's try on the back door. Let's see 3 ounces of the ChatGPT shampoo. There we go. We're getting somewhere now. That's some better foam. Now you're getting that drop. You can hear it. Oh yeah, that's good. It's pretty thick on the surface, but still runny in my book. Still not as good as even like 2 ounces of shampoo plus. So let's see, let's max it out at 4 ounces. So 120 mil of water, or of soap, and see if we can get something that is nice and thick and dry. So let's see, we're gonna do it on this rear quarter panel so we can kind of compare 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 3 ounce, and 4 ounce. Let's go. Oh yeah, there we go. That's what I like to see. Add some thick foam. So what I'm also gonna do is time that dwell time. So let's go to the stopwatch here. Foamed on. We're gonna time that dwell time, and let's see how long that's able to cling, and we'll even see this one as well. But I think this 4 ounce mark, I think she's gonna cling for a while. So almost 5.5 minutes of dwell time, and it's to the point where we're like 50-50 soap, which is where I'm gonna call it. But 5.5 minutes of dwell time. Most of that time it was a straight sheet of soap. It's a pretty stable formula, pretty good foam. So we foamed the whole car, we're giving it some dwell time, and now we're gonna set up our bucket so that we can test the slickness during the wash and go through that full wash process. Going with 30 mil into a full bucket, which is typically my go-to. Again, we've only got about 3 gallons of water or so in here. So we are gonna be good to go there. Mix that up. It feels a little slick. We'll see how this goes during the wash. Not as slick as I would like, but there's something there. Let's see how it goes. Now, I have been using it on the rest of the car, and it's good. It's not a horrible soap. The slickness is okay. Is it on par with high-end shampoos, you know, like our Shampoo Plus or maybe GSF or Carpro Reset? Not even close, especially at the concentration that we needed to use. But is the soap washing the car? Is the slickness good enough where I'm not concerned about marring? Yes, it's definitely a workable shampoo, and it is totally doing the job without raising any concerns in my book. And as you can see, I have a lot of suds going on here in my wash mitt. So it is definitely doing a great job with foaming. The viscosity is good enough. So far, ChatGPT soap is not too bad. So we've washed up the whole car. Now we're gonna give it a rinse. Let's see how easy it rinses. And I really wish you guys could be here right now, because I don't know if you've ever been into like Disney or some sort of vacation spot where they have those candy stores that make the candy and like in the store, and you just walk in and it just smells like straight sugar. That's what I'm picking up out here. It smells so good. But let's see how the rinse off is. I mean, I washed the car for maybe 15 minutes, you know, going around the car. I've still got soap on even the hood, which I started on. Still has suds sitting on the surface. My bucket, look at the suds. 15 minutes of washing and I still have crazy suds in the bucket. There's some shampoos I know of that people rave about where the suds dies in my bucket before I get done with my wash. So, hey, it's doing something good. So let's rinse it off and let's see how, you know, see if it reactivates, see if it's annoying to rinse, see if it rinses clean. And most importantly, let's see if it killed any of the protection that's on the side of the car, because all this has on it is a layer of beads that we put on a couple weeks ago. Look at that. I mean, one rinse, easy rinsing, no foaming up. My protection from beads a couple weeks ago, still killing it. So super safe soap, and I can also tell that by the fact that I've been using it. My hands don't feel dry. They don't feel like they've been attacked by some sort of aggressive cleaner. My hands feel great. So yeah, I mean, so far, not a bad soap, just not very concentrated. So we'll get this rinsed off, and I'm gonna test it, really stress test it. We're gonna throw some soap on a panel, let it dry for like 20 minutes, and then we're gonna see if there's any staining that occurs. See if this is a safe soap if you're working out in the sunlight, and if it can dry in the sun and not cause any issues. So the car is clean with the ChatGPT soap, and it worked. It's a clean car now. It was able to easily break up some of the tree sap that was up on the roof that I saw before. That was fully gone after the agitation wash. Front bumper, it was able to knock out the bugs, no problem. We rinsed the car off, and it's a clean car. There's no doubt about it. This soaped, it cleaned. So now what we're gonna do, final test, is basically foam it on this panel that's in the sun a little bit. We got some sun peeking out. This panel is a little warm. We're gonna foam it on, leave it for like 15, 20 minutes, let it really bake and dry, and let's see if it's a true pH neutral shampoo that you can work with in the sun, and see if it's not gonna cause any staining when drying. Got a little bit left in my foam cannon. We're good to go. Let's foam her on. Look at that foam. I mean, I know you need 4 ounces, but it's still great foam. So we'll come back to you in about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, let this bake. Let's see if it causes any damage. So 15 minutes have passed, and there is not a lick of soap left on the surface. So we really went to the test. All you can see is a little bit on the floor, and there's a tiny bit here on the hood, but on the fender where it was in the sun, it is completely, just residue left behind. So let's rinse it off, give it a dry, and see if it's stained or if this residue just rinses nice and cleanly. You can see it reactivated all that residue when I rinse. You can see it as it goes up here. Even over here, you'll probably see that residue. Goes away. Now, the true test. Let's give it a dry. Look at that. No staining on the plastics, no staining on the paint, no water spotting, no soap scum, no soap staining. Super safe, super clean. Hey, it may not be super concentrated, but the soap works, the soap cleans, the soap is safe, doesn't dry out my hands. Overall, I'm really impressed in a bare, simple ChatGPT formulation for a car soap. Yeah, this is impressive for what I was expecting. Alrighty guys, there we go. The ChatGPT soap Formulated, blended, tried, and proven. It seems to be a workable soap. It cleaned the car. It was decently slick. It gave us some foam with 4 ounces of product. You could probably go down to 2 or 3 if you wanted a little bit weaker foam. Safe, doesn't kill my hands. My hands feel nice and smooth. Didn't dry out my skin. ChatGPT did a good job. I am super impressed. It made a car shampoo, which is pretty wild when you think about the fact that it took us 3 seconds to put in a prompt and get a formulation for a car shampoo that you could make. Now, would this be commercially viable and compete with the big dogs? Heck no. Could you put a generic brand label on this and could it fit in an AutoZone or a Walmart? Definitely. It functions as a car shampoo. I think a lot of people would be happy with this. If it was a great price point, you sold this for $6, $7, $8, this would be a killer soap, even if you have to use that much. So now that I've tested it and proven it, and I trust it a little bit, what we're gonna do is give one of you the chance to try this shampoo as well. So we're gonna do a little giveaway of this specific bottle because I have 16 ounces left. And what we're gonna do, so you're gonna leave a comment that says ChatGPT soap, all capitals, down below, and that's gonna enter you. We're gonna ship this out to you for free, and you'll be able to try this or keep it as a relic, a one-of-one shampoo that you can just sniff every once in a while because it just smells delightful. However, as those prescription commercials say, Armour Detail Supply is not responsible for any damage caused by this shampoo. Use it at your own risk. Do not sue us. So if you guys want to see an extension of this series, let us know down in the comments if you want us to try something else that ChatGPT formulates. I don't think it'll be able to do a ceramic coating or anything crazy, but maybe we could do a tire cleaner. Maybe we could do an APC. If you got any ideas, leave us a ChatGPT prompt down in the comments, and maybe your prompt will be used in our next ChatGPT series. As always, thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and happy detailing.